Hello and welcome to Goal Line Gossip. We have a fantastic show lined up for you today, but we will mostly be concentrating on Liverpool and their victory over Newcastle at St. James's Park. They went 2-1 on a fantastic match. We have Kloppite with us with his new name, and it's obvious that Darwin Nunez has arrived finally after a year. What a match he's had, two fantastic goals in the second half, and obviously winning it for Liverpool in a very important match. So let's get the show started. How are you feeling? How big match, big scoreline, big win? How does it feel?
I'm still buzzing. I cannot believe it. I was shaking at like it took me like 1.5 hours to just get back to the fact. Okay, we won this game. I was just scrolling through the Liverpool groups and Twitter and trying to
Hmm.
see what is there, get more excitement. And it was crazy. I think this is probably the top three, top two games we have won. Like in my 16, 17 years of football I've watched. I think
Hmm.
it is up there. It is up there. It's
Would you put it
almost as
above the Barcelona victory at Anfield when you were 3-0 down from Camp Nou?
I I think that was a very tough job, tall order as well, and this was too. Yeah, I think it's compare. It's hard to say right now, but probably in a few days' time, I would compare and think. But I think in that game we started off bright, and that we got two early goals, and then there was hope. But here, I think till 77 or 75 minutes, there was no hope. Like we all accepted, oh, this is going down. Newcastle have a good midfield, they have a good defense. They'll just hold it out, sit it out. There was no chance, like, and the players going off. No Van Dijk, no Matip went off. Think McAllister went off. Like a lot of important players went off as well. So got substituted, and there was Harvey Elliott and Soboslai just playing midfield. So no, I can guarantee like no Liverpool fan had thought today that they would away with a point, let it be a like win.
Like
But
before the
yeah,
match or after they
yeah,
scored and
throughout the
then
match, no,
throughout the match?
yeah, like before, yeah, I mean before the goal went in, the first goal, and even after the first goal, I think they were like, okay, let's take a point back home. It's a good point. It's a good
Right.
point from Newcastle away, and no one was expecting to win. I'm sure. Like, bet, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then yeah, magic happened. Magic in the form of Darwin Nunez.
Right. It seemed like a game of two halves, right? Like I did not catch the first half live. I definitely saw the highlights and everything. But what do you think changed second half? Like first half, they looked like the dominant side. Of course, you guys went one man down and one goal down. But then, how do you think things changed? Was it the introduction of Darwin and a couple of players, or do you just think that Newcastle sort of, in the end, they just ran out of gas?
Yeah. Compared to last week, I think even versus Bournemouth, we went down 10 men and showed incredible character. I think we played better with 10 men last week, last Saturday. And the same thing happened here. Well, I was seeing the first half. We started well. We were feisty and we were getting into the challenges. And then I think a little bit of the stamina weared off maybe, and then Newcastle was starting to get the ball again, and they were trying to create chances. Obviously, Trent made a huge error today, leading to Gordon's goal. We'll come to that, I guess. And then the red card happened, and we had no possession. Like we didn't have an out ball throughout the game. Like who do we pass to? And Endo isn't yet, I would say yet, isn't that kind of player who just takes the ball and looks for a pass, calms the midfield down, calms the game down. I don't.
Tell me about Endo. I did not see. It was probably his first
y-
match, right? How do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
round him up as a midfielder?
I don't want to rate him in this game, but I definitely saw some signs of like defensive ability or defensive mind he does have. He was getting into challenges. I think in the first 3, 4 minutes, he won two aerial battles against Joe Linton and Guimaraes, I think. So he won the headers. I think he has that. He has the defensive attributes. Probably not as confident on the ball still, maybe he could get there. I've seen the highlights that he's not bad with the ball. Maybe it'll just take as long as like Fabinho did to settle in before, like Rodri did for Man City when he came in. He might take time, but this wasn't the match to judge him. But he was there. He wasn't making any errors. He was there screening the defense. I think he did that well. But yeah, what once we were down to 10 men, we needed someone to just get into the midfield and try to pick out a few passes. Like because we were just pinned back by Newcastle and we didn't have the out ball. It was like a long pass from the back, which was either going to Salah or Gakpo and then getting intercepted. So we didn't have that out ball. And then I think the game changed a little bit when Endo went off and Klopp brought McAllister into the CDM position. So McAllister is quick. He's swift. He's a swift player. So he was receiving the ball and making some turns and trying to find an out ball. So that's when the game started to change. And what's interesting is that the introduction of Harvey Elliott, I think, and Jota. So Jota was significant. I think like Jota is the underrated hero of the story today's story. So he was getting the ball on the wings, and he was like shielding the ball well, trying to dribble past a few players and making a good pass. So that kept the Newcastle attack, and it stopped us from getting pinned back. And so was Harvey Elliott. So Harvey Elliott was like shifting towards the right, being as a right winger, then coming back in midfield. So it gave like a some control. So Harvey Elliott is a decent passer of the ball, I would say. So that was giving us some control in the midfield. So I think that changed the game. And yeah, I saw that Botman, like we were discussing, like Botman lost his legs completely at the end of the game. He was not able to catch up with Darwin's pace, who was very fresh. And Liverpool found two good passes, maybe, and of course, an error from Botman. And it led to two goals, and we won.
Right, yeah, and I think from a Newcastle point of view as well, if I had to compare today's game to some of the games that they played last season, what you would see in St James's Park is when they are one nil up, they would park the bus. I mean, they
Yeah,
have that sort of a defense line that can hold on for 90 minutes or more. But in
yeah.
this game, they were not doing it. I mean, I know that the second half was mostly Liverpool attacking, and even if not attacking, like they look like a threat. But still, Almiron hit the post once, I think,
Yeah.
and they were still bombing in forward. And I think that kind of uh, just helped them. I mean, did not help them defend well, or in that intensity that they're used to. And I think that's one of the reasons why some of the CDMs and the defenders, they lost their legs and they were caught out of possession, and the goals sort of happened. So I think from that point of view, Eddie Howe. I remember in the second half he brought in Callum Wilson and Harvey Barnes, and those are
To
like
finish off the
attacking
game, yeah.
changes. Yeah, but I think the time when he actually did it, it was not required. If he would have done it in the 45th minute when the second half
Mhm.
started, or the 50th minute, it would have made sense. But I think those changes were a bit too late for
Right,
putting the
right.
game into bed, because they already had that first half where they were dominating, and I'm surprised that they only scored one goal. Looking at some of the
Yeah.
the number of shots taken
Oh,
and
yeah.
this
We could have
Alisson
like been
saves.
two, 3-0 down before. Like there
Exactly.
would have been no chance to the game.
Yeah, and I feel that was like a missed opportunity, but then he tried to compensate that anyhow later on, maybe a bit too late, and that sort of like killed the game in a sense that they were not able to have that composure, that compact, structure in the
Hmm.
back. And obviously, man, I mean, Salah is like playing number 10 these days, and you have so many options up front that you guys can rotate. And I mean, Jota plays everywhere. Gakpo plays everywhere. Salah is he's not only scoring goals, he's creating world class chances, right? And that pass
Yeah,
to Darwin Nunez,
yeah.
it was
Salah
the
was like
pass,
this was like I don't want to blame him, but we were down to 10 men, so maybe that's the reason. But he was crap all game, man. He just produced a wonder pass. That's it. So maybe that's
right?
the Salah effect. And also, I would like just when you were mentioning that we bought in the changes today, this is where I we talked about how like some people said that Newcastle are like definitely top four. definitely a top four team and everything. This is where I think Newcastle's depth is not as good as the other teams. So I think Tonali got tired by the end. I think he's not used to the physicality of the Premier League. He was playing really well, but he's not probably a 90 minutes player yet. So I think he took Tonali off and bought I don't remember his name. So that is where Newcastle's depth, they lost control of the midfield, that I
Right.
would
The
say.
quality is not like,
But yeah,
you cannot substitute a Tonali quality with somebody who's from the academy or not as good as him, right? So that's what you're saying in terms of depth.
yeah. So they don't have that depth to be a top four team. That's what I keep saying. Like last season, I think they got there by kind of default. They played well, but it was like the
Right.
other teams were terrible.
The thing about top four is like it's not like set in stone as well, right? I mean, like
Hmm.
someone like Manchester United can crash out of top four pretty easily this season, and somebody else can take it up, and that somebody else not necessarily needs to be Tottenham or Chelsea. It can be a Brighton. It can be
Hmm.
someone who, or maybe an Aston Villa, right? So I think that's where the top four is still a little shady, and also I think from this season it's top five, right, for Champions League.
It's not confirmed yet, but maybe I think
Okay,
based on the UEFA coefficient ranking of the English teams. So
I see.
I don't know, not
Okay.
confirmed yet.
Okay. So let's cover some of the key moments of the game. I'll keep the red card discussion for the next topic, but let's talk about Alisson. You were telling me about how important he is to your team, and if we had to look at the best keepers who are playing currently, he has to be on, in that ranking list, maybe on the top two, or maybe the best. How important was that save against Almiron, and what is the overall impact that your team gets when keepers make these sort of saves, and it almost ends up being as important as scoring a goal?
So like when I talk about goalkeeper, this is like my theory. So I judge a goalkeeper by his consistency rather than making top class saves. So even like Mignolet and whatever Carriers or whatever we had in the past, they would make like some wonder saves, like a point blank range save or like a top corner dive, like which even Ramsdale does, I think. And I particularly don't rate Ramsdale as high as some of the best keepers in the Premier League. So I judge the keeper by his consistency. And like you're saying, that was a wonder save. Alisson can do that, and it'll feel like a very normal moment for Alisson. And Alisson can do that in any point of the day. But I focus on the other chances which he stopped. So the continuous, like they were taking shots from distance, right? So Gordon was taking a few shots, Joelinton. So Alisson was always at the right position at the right time. So his positioning sense is so good. And there was also a chance by I don't know half the Newcastle players. So I think someone tried to put a back flick, I think back flick and score, and it hit Alisson's
Right.
leg.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah.
was also a great save. Like that's a one-on-one chance, and
It was
someone
long
it could have
stuff,
easily yeah
probably.
long stuff. So yeah, so long stuff, and it could have gone through his legs. So that
Hmm.
usually doesn't happen to Alisson. And
Right.
yeah, that save from Almiron was just kept us in the game. Like Alisson is like he's a if they had to make a statue of one player right now, that would be him. Like
It's
he's
not going to be
kept it.
Salah.
It's not going to be Salah. Like right now, right now, I'm saying like
Right.
for 5 seasons, 6 seasons, Allison has been there. Like I think he had a dip in our the shit season where every one of our defenders fell off. I think he had a dip for about 10 games, but other
Mhm.
than that, he's been fantastic. He can score goals also. He can just make assists. He gets one assist every year apparently. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so
Apparently he's a good translator as well. A
yeah,
little bit of tidbit. Yeah. After the game, there was a post-match interview with
yeah.
Darwin, and
So
then
so
it was such a sweet moment where he was translating everything that the commentator was saying, and also like Darwin. So yeah, he seems like a overall like a really good
and he
influence for
has
the
some
team.
leadership qualities. I think he was saying
Yep.
like there have been a lot of talk about us this season. Uh, so regarding transfers, who's going away, who's going. I think he was trying to make about the Salah rumors. So he was saying about that, and he said, "Don't put words in our mouth which doesn't exist." So he has that leadership quality, and you didn't know probably, but he is probably like a pastor. Like so, he baptized, I think, Firmino's child and everything. So
Whoa,
yeah, so yeah,
crazy
so
guy.
he yeah, so he's a baller. He's a baller. So yeah, we love him.
Yeah, and you want
And yeah,
people like that in your
yeah,
team,
you
right?
want leaders like that. And I want to ask you, like, do you rate Alisson as like the best goalkeeper of all time? If you want a
All
Man
time.
United fan,
Uh,
not
I don't know
just
about all
judging by
time. I mean,
trophies, not
I
judging
think
by
it's like
trophies.
how long has he been playing with Liverpool? This is what his
Since
fifth year was.
17,
Is it?
2017.
Okay,
So
so
it's,
like
yeah,
6 years.
6 years, sixth
Fifth
season
season.
going on, right?
Yeah, I think like the thing about me is that I'm obviously going to be a little biased towards the Schmeichels and the Van der Sars because I think they were there for a longer period of time, just based on that. And they were, and you're absolutely right. They were good keepers are based on consistency. Like I will never put De Gea as one of my favorite goalkeepers. I mean, I love him to bits, but I think his way in the top was short-lived, maybe 3 years, 4 years when he was looked at the best keeper, and then everything went downhill. I'm not too worried about the downhill and how low it went, but it's just that he could not maintain that status.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, the game changed as well, and it was more
Mm-hmm.
about building up from the back, which clearly he was not up for. But Courtois does it. I have never seen Courtois play from the back, and he plays for Real Madrid. And of course, Real Madrid is blessed with players like Rodrigo and Vinny Jr. and all that, but they play counter attack and they do it, and that's why I would always put Courtois over De Gea. But De Gea for me was really good for 3 years. He was my favorite player at Manchester United. But when it comes to all time, I have to look at like people like Van der Sar and Schmeichel. Schmeichel, of course, like I've not seen all his matches because did not have access back then. But Van der Sar I've seen like probably
Yeah,
like 95% of his.
even I used to, rate Van der Sar as the best goalkeeper I've ever seen before I saw Alisson, obviously, because Alisson is the player. But judging, I'm just talking by skill set, like whatever's required for the modern game, and his saves, his passing ability, and everything, and the
Yeah, of
clutch
course. Like
moments. I think Van der Sar
yeah,
had a lot of clutch moments, and so does Alisson. I feel like too many
yeah,
clutch
and
moments.
I think it also depends on not just the keeper, but the team that keeper is playing for as well. When you look at the Van der Sar, or when you look at the Schmeichel era, you have the Roy Keanes, you have the Paul Scholes, you have the Ryan Giggs, you have the Cantonas in the team. So there are big personalities and individuals there, and I think that sort of either makes it easier for you to have a good game, you know, perform well on the field.
Hmm.
Same with Van der Sar as well. He's played with Wayne Rooney, he's played with Ryan Giggs, Cristiano Ronaldo, and so many more like good players, right? But when you look at Alisson, I mean, yes, you have Salah and Van Dijk, but those are the only two that I can name who are, absolute
Hmm.
ballers. The next guy is Alisson. So from that point of view, the impact that he has on this Liverpool team, I think, is more than what Schmeichel or Van der Sar had in that team, because that team was already star-studded with world-class
Hmm.
players. So I think from that point of view, I'm saying that he is more useful to Liverpool right now than Van der Sar was back then, because we tried with Barthez, we tried with Tim.
Howard.
It was not Tim Howard, and so many more, right? Even Ben Foster was there for a while. So yeah, I mean, I think Allison at this point of time has to be the best goalkeeper. And now that I know that he's good with translation and he's a pastor as well, I mean, why not?
It's nice.
But in that post-match interview, they also talked to Trent, and it was also like, I mean, I was almost shocked at the level of questioning that the interviewer was asking him in depth of, oh, so you're making a lot of mistakes, and what do you think about that? Fans are on your back, and it just felt like it was not like an interview. It was almost a bit too aggressive, but I was surprised that Trent, he just replied to it like honestly, because it kind of felt like it was none of it. I mean, it was a post-match interview. It was not like an
Yeah, I
intimate
think
interview after 5 matches with Gary Neville, where he's covering Sky Bets and whatever. So, what were your thoughts on that, and what were your thoughts on the performance for on Trent today?
yeah, I think so Trent got the early yellow card, and I think Gordon had him on toast. Like I won't like disagree with that. I won't lie to it. I mean, Gordon had him on toast. Like he was not able to match with Gordon's pace. And yeah, the error should not come. It should not happen. Like you cannot miss the ball. You cannot just miss the ball like you're an amateur football player in the park. Like probably we do it sometimes. And that's probably even we would get blamed if you're playing in a 11-side match in a compared like semi whatever like whatever a tournament, let's say. And if you just someone is passing the ball and you just let it roll under your feet, yeah, you would get screamed at, and you cannot do that in the Premier League, and you just cannot do it. It cannot happen ever, probably. And for a player like Trent's quality, it cannot happen ever. So yeah, I think the the interviewer was questioning him because he's now the vice captain. He's one of the identified as one of the leaders in the team right now because he's the vice captain. And when since Van Dijk went off, he was the captain today. So, and we can see that Trent is not having a great start to the season. Uh, he probably is a little confused what his roles are. Like I think we were talking about this in one of the times. Like, is he a right back? Is he a centre mid? So he is probably confused. So he's like thinking, just need to receive the ball and where's my next pass? So probably he was looking at the next pass and he lost his concentration and the ball went through. And the English media, like are just like that. They would just they know that Trent is a weak spot and is a topic of debate among the fans and among the journal like pundits and everyone. So yeah, he just threw whatever he can at him. I think Trent handled it quite calmly. That's what I thought. And yeah, I was, and Alisson was also there to support him, I guess. So I think he handled it well, but obviously he knows that he is making a lot of errors. I really hope he comes back because throughout the game, I thought he improved. He definitely got better, but I think Liverpool just went into a mode where they were not taking enough risks at the end because obviously they were down to 10 men, and so that made Trent look a little better. But yeah, it's worrying how Trent is playing. Last week I was defending him, and today I don't think I have much to defend him on. You know, I just hope he comes back. He comes back soon. So
Right, right. I really liked how he answered that question. I mean, not really what he said, but how he said it. He
Mhm.
seemed calm and composed. So I think, like, with the media, the fans after him, after his performance, I think within the team, within Jurgen Klopp's team, it is well established that there is an issue and they are probably trying to fix it. So, which is, I think, a positive thing, because otherwise I don't think Jurgen Klopp would have been given him the armband, like the vice captaincy. So there is something that he acknowledges that Trent brings to the table, and Trent wants that responsibility as well. And that's what we want to see from an academy player, right? Who wants to? I mean, there will always be criticism in the biggest stage, but you want to see these individuals, these players, to come off and fight back necessarily, and show them why.
that's what he saw at the end. Like when he was shielding the ball, and he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like rallying up the fans and
right.
shouting, like crying in victory,
Yep.
and when it was the
Yeah,
last minute of the game. So of course it means a lot
absolutely.
to him. I just think he's a little confused with what his roles is, like when to drop into
Mhm.
midfield, when to step out of midfield,
Right.
and that's what his
And I think
confusion.
the problem that adds to all of that is you've got a lot of midfielders this season as well, right? Like three new midfielders, so three different style
Yeah,
of
yeah.
players. And how does Trent fit into that if he has a role there. So
Yeah,
I think Jurgen Klopp is currently not too bothered about that. He's just trying to integrate these three new players into the midfield and trying to find out the
yeah.
best way to play. And I think the cherry on top would be once these guys are integrated in the right way, in the right format, how does Trent also fit into this model?
Right,
Maybe
right.
in a transitional way or whatever he thinks makes sense. So probably take some time, but I'm just glad
Yeah,
that at the end of the day, regardless of the criticism, even like you're saying that you're questioning him, but I know that you love him as a player, the fact that he's from the
fun.
academy, and that's all that matters, right? Because there's a lot of hate out there for so many players. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure,
I don't think any Liverpool fan would ever
right?
hate Trent. Like that's not possible, I think.
Yeah,
Unless he just
and
does something very absurd and calls out the fans or says something bad about
I know
Liverpool.
not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right. But the main man, the guy who scored two goals, what are your thoughts on him? Like, came out, was it the 65th minute? I don't remember. When he
77,
came out,
77.
77th, yeah, so very little time to actually show an impact, but he's a striker. And the reason why he came to the field is I just feel like because Newcastle were not 2-0 or 3-0 up, when you are 1-0 up, there's always a chance
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
draw the
You
game or
just
win
take
it.
that
And that's
gamble.
why
Yeah,
yeah, and he's kind of seems like the perfect contender for a gamble, right? I mean, this guy was bought with a lot of money, did not that he was did score a lot of goals, but at the end of the day, he was not the main man last season, and there were question marks in terms of what is he going to become with the Liverpool jersey on. And I think this is probably the first time he has replied back saying this is what I can do for the team, and he seemed ecstatic like with both the goals. And thing with like St James's Park, I think the away gallery is above the
yeah.
like the home tier, so it was kind of weird that when you're celebrating, the rival
No,
fans
he
are
he did actually
using you.
celebrate in front of the away end. So yeah, he has that like the meanness or the naughtiness in him. Like he actually went to the away end and celebrated,
Right.
and he just winked at the fan. There's a clip like he winked at the
Yeah.
Newcastle fans and like told them
Oh,
to like
was that a wink? I
sit
thought
down.
there was some sweat in his eyes or something.
No,
Okay,
no,
maybe
he
it was
winked like
like
that.
right. But yeah,
No,
I mean, great two goals, right? Like two shots, two goals, same kind of shots, and yeah, both of them finding the back of the net. What are your thoughts on him? Like, what were you thinking when
yeah,
he came on? Did you think he would score?
no, no. So I was there, like someone was saying, like just get Darwin Nunez on, like one of the fans in the local groups
Okay.
was saying,
Hmm.
and I was like, that would be like playing with nine men, like because what would
Right.
Darwin do? Like he would receive the ball, okay, he might get one or two chances, and that's what he did. He did get one or two chances. I feel in his Liverpool career, like he's been extremely unlucky. So sometimes he gets injured at when his form a little bit good and he hits the post quite a few times. He does a few good dribbles and shoots. He shoots really well. I think his left foot is not too bad either. He shoots with a lot of power. What I really like about him is his runs. His runs are really, really
Right.
good. Like it's almost as good as a top striker. I would say like how he angles his runs and everything. That part of the game he really understands. But it's the composure and like picking out the right passes or playing it too quickly. That's what he lacks about his game. So he needs to be polished. So I read something just by scrolling through Twitter. Right, the
Hmm.
game needed chaos, and on came chaos on the 77th minute. So yeah, so Darwin is chaos. You don't know what you're gonna get out of him. Like he's the X
Hmm.
factor. I always kept saying like he's the X factor. Like just what like Mane had. Like he was the X factor. He would have some clutch moments. Mane would be terrible in some games and just get a clutch moment from somewhere. So
Hmm.
so Darwin has that. Darwin is the X factor in our team. Something different, which we don't have in Jota, Gakpo, or anything. Like these are more players who can do a few dribbles, like more composed. You know where Jota would be going. You know
Right.
where Gakpo, like they'll receive the ball, make a turn or something. You would know that. So, but Darwin is unpredictable. You just don't know where he's going, like what he's gonna do. Is he gonna mistime the ball? Is he gonna like control it or give it back to the opposition, or just be that bloody good. Like scored two wonder goals. Like the first finish was crazy. It's a perfect finish. Hit it off the post.
Right.
That's what I was trying to focus on. His runs are really good.
Mhm.
Both the goals came out of like through balls. One, of course, being a mistake from the Newcastle defender, Botman, but both were through balls. So his runs are really good. He is spacey. He has that attribute to be like a Haaland. I won't say Haaland. Like, he's not that good, of course. He's not got the
Mhm.
60% of Haaland right now, but he has that ability of Haaland. Just just play it to him and let him finish. He can do that
Right.
instead of getting him to do all the work, receive the ball, turn. This is not his game. Just pass the ball to him and let him score. And
Based on based
yeah, yeah.
on today's performance and of course the victory, do you see him more coming off from the bench
I think
in
he'll
the
start next.
in the
He
season?
has to start next week. Next week he has to start. You cannot put Darwin on the bench next week after he's done this. Like that would take a
But
terrible
don't you
hit
think
on his
there are
confidence.
there are some players who are like, of course, like I'm used to seeing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Javier Hernandez, who are players only introduced from the bench to make an impact, and that's what they did, and they did it and made careers out of it. Do you think like, you know, that might be the way to maybe get the best out of him for now till he finds like a fixed, like a permanent role on the starting 11?
With Liverpool, I think the starting striker, apart from the right wing and maybe occasionally Diaz getting benched, I think Diaz holds the left wing spot or Salah holds the right wing spot. I think rest and the striker is interchangeable depending on the game. But right now, you cannot take Darwin off for next game. This has just hit his confidence very bad, and yeah,
Uh,
and he might not play well against Aston Villa, but we just need to play him next. That's my opinion. And like you were saying, just asking me, like, is he a Javier Hernandez or Solskjaer? But he's an 80 million pound striker. He's the most expensive attacker in our team.
Yeah, the price tag doesn't matter anymore, man. Like, if you
Yeah,
get,
it doesn't. It doesn't.
yeah,
It
yeah. I mean,
doesn't.
he's
But
already like played one season where he didn't do much, and now it's almost like it's like Anthony, right? So same thing,
Mhm.
huge price tag, did not perform. I mean, Anthony still, I think he did more than Darwin, and that's just my opinion. Like last season, but he has a lot to prove this season. Like we had this topic like, do United fans rate Anthony, right? And this is you asking United fans, that which means like rival fans don't rate him at all. So now you're asking, the fans of Manchester United, and I'm pretty sure it's almost like split, where some people would say, yeah, he has the potential, and some people are just gonna go like, meh, he's okay, whatever. So I think if you put
I,
the price
yeah.
tag into the equation, that's just bonkers, man. Like paying
Mhm.
80, 75, whatever his fee was for that kind of player from Eredivisie, it's crazy.
Yeah. So same with Darwin. But like I think there's a player in him, but I'm not sure Jurgen Klopp knows how to use him. That's also one more thing. He
Right.
is not like the traditional Liverpool striker which we had
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Suarez was or
Oh yeah,
Firmino
he's
was.
different. Or Torres. Yeah, he's very different.
He's very different. Like he's a finisher. Like he's a player who will run like on the last behind the last man. But we don't use that system. We use a player who will like drop in, hold the ball, make a few passes from midfield, and
He
that kind
reminds
of
me of a
striker
bit
we use.
like Torres.
Yeah, a
Fernando
little bit
Torres.
more like Torres. Yeah.
He was more clinical, but in terms of the play style, like he's got that.
hmm
He's going to
hmm
make those runs and get those shots. Like definitely, like today's couple of shots, like which went in, those are like Torres goals. When he has the ball
Yeah,
and when he's shooting, it's hitting the back of the net,
yeah,
unless
yeah.
he gets tackled really bad. Yeah.
With Torres, you had that confidence, and that is the old generation striker we saw. Now
Hmm.
we do see that with Haaland, but that is now after City changed their game style and everything back to the old days. But
Hmm.
now we don't see such strikers. Like even Harry Kane is a player who now drops in deep, and that's how the modern game has become. So
Right.
Darwin is probably that old generation striker, and that's why I don't think Jurgen Klopp has it figured out with him, like what to do with him. So
Right.
yeah,
And you have so
that's
many strikers, so many options, and I know
yeah,
it's
yeah,
good to have the depth and all these players in the squad, but it's also like as a manager, it's also difficult to
yeah. It's
I don't
hard.
know
It's hard.
which combination would go with which team or in which style. That's also like a very tough job. And I know you have AI, you have data driven like softwares or algos that are helping clubs to sort of analyze tactics and strategies. But at the end of the day, like it's a 90-minute game. Like with all the right choices, it can still go wrong thanks to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
referee.
yeah.
And that's a good segue to talk about the next topic, the red card. What are your thoughts about it? I think you did not think that it was a red card. I obviously didn't see it live, so I saw the replay in a very slow motion capture,
Hmm.
so it was good. But what
Yeah,
happened in real time? What did you think of? How were you feeling when he got sent off?
yeah. So when he fouled Isak, I think I thought, okay, this is a free kick. It's a yellow card. Yeah, just and I saw the referee reaching into the back pocket. I was like, oh no, it's not happening again. Again, we're down to 10 men. So yeah, I was furious, and I was like, whatever it is, I was calling out at the ref. But as you told me, the rules have changed, and you were talking about like how the people who have been watching football for a long time, like you and me, who probably haven't been so updated with the new rules. And you told me that even if the player, it doesn't matter who the player is, or it doesn't matter like how far he's away from the last defender, if he's the last man, and even if he's probably a few inches ahead of the last defender, it's still a red card. So that it makes it more mechanical for me. I don't know. It wasn't like an obvious red card where we used to see like someone like pulling someone's shirt down. He's clearly behind the man. He wasn't clearly behind the man. He just came in from the side. Yeah, he got his. I saw that he clipped Isak first and then hit the ball. So it wasn't like an obvious foul. Like last season, this would have been a yellow, easy yellow. Like, but this season you're saying I was not very familiar with the new rules, but you're saying like these are the rules and they are being strict with it. But these refs are not consistent with these same rules. Like they have made these rules, and they're not consistent every day. So that's where the fans are questioning like, why are you not consistent? If it's for one team on one particular day, why is it not for the other team on another day? So yeah, and there's VAR, and VAR reviewed it like for like 30 seconds, and they decided to go with the ref. I don't think they have overturned any decision this season from the refs. So yeah, I don't know. It's like we are like traditional fans, and seeing this decision like makes us fall out of love for this game. I think a lot of people have been saying that recently,
And
and
confused and stupid
yeah,
because we've
yeah, yeah,
watched the game for so long, and suddenly you see the referee so confidently showing the red. You see VAR agreeing with the ref in 30 seconds. 30 seconds is a very short time based on some of the
yeah.
decisions that take like I don't know, like 5-10 minutes to decide sometimes.
Yeah, last season or in the season before, they were taking longer times, and they were trying to say that yeah, we just trying to reduce the time required to analyze this situation. But and you can reduce the time, but just don't need to be stupid all the time. Like agree with the referee.
Thank you for watching that video. We are a community of passionate football fans, and we post weekly videos on transfer news, match reactions, tactical analysis, and sometimes just gossip on the most exciting sport in the world. If that's what you like to hear, then hit that subscribe button and join the conversation with us.